Hey, good morning, Jacques. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm talking to Garth Brooks.
Entering his second year as the LSU head football coach.
It was the only way I could get a foot in the door.
Joined by the icon, Kim Mulkey. Ace Coach, great to see you.
Jacques Talk is sponsored by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp and Kuyon's Cajun Barbecue.
David Simoneaux is the head football coach of the Central Wildcats, who just won their first state championship in nearly 60 years. He's nice enough to come down to Channel 9. Dave, great to see you, man.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Great feeling.
I hope you enjoy it for a while. I mean, I know you got to get back to work eventually, but if you don't enjoy these things, then what's worth working for, right?
Yeah, man. I'm doing a little better job as I get older in my career of, making sure that I compartmentalize some things, and we're going to enjoy this one for a little while.
You know, I'm thinking about, like, in 2023, I covered LSU women's basketball winning the national championship, and they couldn't hit a three-pointer the whole tournament. And they get into the championship game against Iowa, and they can't miss, They just play their great game. LSU baseball a few months later that summer, they're in their game 3 against Florida, got to win or they're not the champs, and they play their greatest game. And I'll look at Central in this game and talk about playing your best game at the most important time. Everybody flourished in this game.
Absolutely, man. I mean, look, it was magical, a magical night, and it was just that night when all 3 phases clicked, and we didn't feel like we had put that together throughout the course of the season consistently. And particularly offensively, it'd been a feast or famine deal. There'd be nights that we'd have some real big nights. There'd be drives and series where we looked, just off the charts, and then the consistency piece we would struggle with. But Jackson Furman ties the Prep Classic record with 5 TDs. Those 200-something yards, 230-something yards. Should have hit a 6 TD. We dropped the wheel route and on the third series that would have put us up 21-0. So just for him to stay the course and to play his best ball in Week 15 was so neat to see. And of course, Zach Morris, our offensive coordinator, has just been incredible and stayed the course and put those guys in a situation to be successful.
Jackson, I'm watching the broadcast, and obviously he's a kid with a lot of ability. He's going to Nichols to play. But I think they said he had 9 touchdown passes for the whole year. Yeah. Throws 5 in the state championship game. And the guys he were throwing the ball to, they caught the ball too. I mean, it wouldn't have been crazy to think, okay, this one's going to just off his fingers or whatever. Those guys, they made the catches, he made the throws. Your passing game right off the bat, through the early touchdown pass there, the young man that caught it. Keithan Womack, right off the bat.
Keithan didn't play the week before. He was he had a concussion, was in concussion protocol, so we had missed him in the semifinals, but played big. I think he had 6 catches and at least two touchdowns and played his butt off.
Yeah, I went down a wormhole the other day on YouTube. I was watching when Brett Favre played that Monday night game after his dad had died, and it was just like, I just had to play the game of my life. And he threw all these great passes, but the receivers too were making some unbelievable catches. I mean, your guys really played well there in the passing game, and it was a perfect storm too. I mean, right off the bat, you get DK, the scoop and score to make it 14-0. Yeah. And as you said, you had the wheel route that was executed. The young man couldn't quite secure the ball there, but you were up 35-0 at the half regardless.
Yeah. It was one of those nights that I think that we needed to do some big things early. Obviously, Ruston is such a well-coached ball club with so many good athletes and had such a great run. And they had been in the Dome 3 years in a row. So for us to be able to go out, we hit that big touchdown pass, second play of the game over there, LSU commit at corner, and I think that gave our kids confidence that, hey, man, maybe we can play with these guys. And then you get the scoop and score, and it's 14-0, and the momentum's going your way. And I think it allowed our kids to settle in and say, man, we belong here.
Yeah. And, there's going to be a statue of David Simoneaux. And then there'll be a small one of John Eads, because I just want to compliment John on the amazing job he did covering you all year long. I think the season opener on Thursday night, you're standing out there in the rain at De La Salle. He wants to go to New Orleans and cover you guys. And then he looked at the bracket and told me weeks in advance, if Central goes to Neville, I want to go. And so, drove 3.5 hours up there to cover you guys that night. I'm leaving the station after doing sports line. It's 11:30. He's still sitting in the parking lot up there. I'm like, John, when are you going to get home? 3 or 4 in the morning? Oh, I got it. It's no big deal. I guess that's when you're in your early 20s, right? You pull that stuff off a little easier.
I miss that energy to myself, I can tell you.
But I just wanted real quick, he did a great story too about the team from the 60s. You know, a lot of those guys, how they had gone to Shreveport, they flew because there were no buses because of the Vietnam War, and a lot of these guys said this was the first time I was ever in a hotel, and then won the game 7-0 and everything. So it was really great to see those two teams connected here, six decades apart, basically.
Yeah, you know that they're going to do a championship ceremony for us at the stadium tomorrow afternoon, and we're inviting the 66 team back to come and be a part of that. You know, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting that picture of the 2024 team next to the 1966 team. I think that'd be awesome. That
will be fantastic. And, you know, while I'm thinking about it, it's the year of Central, right? Sid Edwards. Like a year ago, if you'd said Sid Edwards is going to be the mayor of Baton Rouge, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Are you crazy? And sure enough, you know, he wins, and you guys win your state title. So,
well, I mean, you look at what Coach Sid did at Estruma, you know, going in there and resurrecting that program, and then in the midst of all that, you know, I mean, playing Madison Prep to, I think, a 7-6 game in the quarterfinals. You know, what an awesome job he did over there, and then to be able to win this campaign. You know, I was able to work with Coach Sid for 5 seasons and learn so much from him, you know, so I'm proud to see him thriving and flourishing, and certainly he did an awesome job of building an infrastructure for a Central football program that allowed us to come in and take up where he left off.
You know, I look at your resume, and you have been part of so many rises to power. Right. I mean, I went to the Artists, formerly known as USL. One of my fraternity brothers was a guy by the name of Alton Melanson, who played. Man. You know Alton?
Oh yeah.
He played baseball at Parkview, and back to Parkview is a baseball school. We're not too good at football. So my first year at Channel 9 in 01, you're a player. The great Kenny Gayot, you know, God rest his soul. I miss Kenny. Wish he was still around. Yes. Wish he was still part of Friday nights. But he's the head coach there. You win state for the first time, and then that kind of set off a chain reaction of Parkview, you know, becoming a dynasty there.
Yeah. Man, I look back to my mentor of Coach Guyot, and I look back to those years that I was able to spend under his tutelage as a coach as well. But, you know, my freshman year we were 3-7. He wasn't the head coach. He took the program over. My sophomore year we were 8-3. My junior year we were 11-2, and then my senior year we had the magical season of 15-0 in the first state championship in school history. And you know, I've been in a lot of championship games since then, but, you know, me and Coach Camp, our defensive coordinator, were both teammates on that team, Anthony Camp. And, man, the magic that was in the air last Saturday night was the same magic that was in the air on December 7th, 2001. And, you know, man, it's just a blessing to be a part of things like that. And I learned so much from Coach Guyot, and, you know, I hope his fingerprints, I know personally that his fingerprints all over what we're doing, but hope everybody else can see it as well.
I remember he said something that was really touching. He was like, I think we had a panel of high school coaches one day. Steve Schneider brought in, they were talking about high school football. And he said, none of us got into this to win championships. You know, obviously you got to win, or you lose your job, or they move on from you. And that's the goal, right? But he said, all of us here, we got into it to touch young men's lives, to impact them, to make sure they grow up to be good citizens and fathers and husbands, and, you know, serve our community well. And that's what he was all about, right?
Absolutely, man. I mean, look, the story of my life, you know, really took off when, you know, Kenny Guyot and Jay Mai and Scott Dietrich and those guys came on campus at Parkview, and I ended up going and playing at Millsaps my freshman year of college, and then I walked on at McNeese, and I found myself at McNeese as a small fish in a big pond, and I was no longer getting any articles written about me and all that different type stuff, and I was humbled by life, you know. And I was reading a book called The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren with Chris Skiro, who played with me at Millsaps, and there's a chapter in that book, and it talks about at some point in your life you have to decide whether you're going to impress people or you're going to influence them. And it was like God hit me over the head with a 2x4, and he was like, hey, man, I've called you to influence kids through the game of football. And, you know, that was 2003 or 2004 in my apartment at McNeese State University, you know, and I look back on the last 20 or 21 years, and I just, you know, I'm so thankful that he's put me on this path, and I'm appreciative of the impact and influence he's given us. And certainly we try and use the game of football as a platform to try and create young men of character and substance that can go out in the world and can make a difference. And I learned that from Coach Guyot.
I remember our photographers trying to shoot Parkview, and they would come back so frustrated because they didn't know where the ball was going. Like they would run that, running back going this way. Oh, the quarterback kept it. Oh, I lost track of the ball. It was always I'm pulling names out of midair. Brad Booth, is that right?
Brad Booth, yeah.
He was the quarterback.
Yep, state MVP. Brad passed to cancer. I don't know if you knew that, but Brad was my best friend, and I stood up and spoke in front of the team. I talked about my mom, and I talked about Coach Giat, and I talked about Brad Booth, and I talked about those Superdome memories from back then, and just how strong those still linger in my heart.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm sorry to hear that. Wow, that happened recently, or
2017.
Yeah. It just as you get older, like people pass away that are like your age and it really kind of hits you in your head. It hits you, it's like you never really think about death like in your 20s and 30s. And when you get into your 40s, I don't know. I'm not trying to take the conversation down a morbid path, but, we won't be here forever.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think that, you got to pass everything that you do through the filter of, what holds eternal reward, and that's the way that we try and run the program. And the cool thing, like Brad Booth, I text his dad every week and our center from 2001, Tanner Jenkins, and I send him something we do at practice that was an old ritual of ours. And it's actually the victory formation, and we were able to do it in the Superdome. And so I sent him the video of us on the dome floor, and it's just a way for us to keep his memory alive. Brad's son and dad came to one of our football games, and we swagged him out in Central gear. And, it was just really, really neat to have those memories, and that's why you play the game. It's about relationships.
Yeah, rest in peace, Brad. That's a great story that you tell. Who was the running back?
We had Chase DuPlessis and Jordy Johnson, and then I was the worst running back on the team.
You score any touchdowns in 01?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a few?
Yep.
Okay, all right. And look, Catholic Point-Capit, you didn't win a state title, but that's the only time since the late 70s that they've made a state championship game there, which you did up in New Roads. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. New Roads and those years at Point-Capit, those 6 seasons were just, they were so awesome. We started off, we were 6-5 and 6-5 the first 2 years we were there, and then the next year we were 11-2, and then the following year was the dome run, and so it was just a special time where it took a while to get that wheel spinning. But man, what an awesome community, and what a great group of kids that just are still tough. They're not as absorbed in all the social media and college offers and all that different type of stuff. It's just, It's a throwback town full of awesome people. And I had all 4 of my children in the New Roads area in Point-Capit. And we still call that place home, So that was some wonderful years.
Beautiful place, False River and all that. 4th of July, they blow it out up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have a good time. And then you go to Catholic High. And this is viewed as kind of the job. Over the years, it was like, well, who's going to replace Dale Weiner? And I know Fertitta came in and some, but you go there and you're coaching big name players. You go to the Dome both years, right? You win state one year, you come up short the other year. Mm-hmm. But you got that job, and you spoke. I watched you on the broadcast. You spoke highly of your time there, but you said it was time for you to do something different.
Yeah, man, look, phenomenal experience at Catholic High. That place is just, it's special. And for anybody that's ever spent any amount of time there knows what an awesome place it is. And I'll forever cherish just so many memories. And, I learned so much while I was there. But really the call back to Central was, I spent 5 seasons there as an assistant. Had so many relationships, and I looked at a place where I thought that, we could go and build something from the ground up. Catholic was established and, had everything rocking and rolling. And I've just always been a builder, and I've always enjoyed taking things and trying to make it better, and that was an opportunity. And so Brandon LeGrew, who was the principal, was on staff with me as a football coach at the time that I was an assistant at Central. He's now the principal, so getting to work with him again was awesome. And then the vision that was shared with me by the superintendent of our school system, Jason Fountain, was something that really just motivated me to want to go and try and take this project on.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if it's an accurate comparison or not, but I did hear somebody say, take a look at what they did at Zachary. Look at what David Brewerton did at Zachary. He took a community there that was a pretty big community that had been kind of, Central had their success, but at Zachary it's kind of going, we're 6-5. We're just, we're mediocre. And I think they won 4 state titles over 7 years, and they're not going anywhere either. But is that kind of the vision at Central? Because, at Zachary, they built that big field house, and they got turf, and they've made their stadium nice. They got video boards. And at Central, you've got this new weight room and these new facilities, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that what Zachary's done over the past decade absolutely has been the standard. And David Brewerton's done it at multiple places, and is a guy that I respect, and just, a great man, too. We deer hunt together a lot. And so, what those guys have done over there has been exceptional. And, you look at somewhere, we back right up to Zachary, so certainly them and Catholic High being in our district, I mean, you've got to compare yourselves to them. And yeah.
And I look at you, right? I mean, you got a hat on. It's got some dirt on it. Got hair coming out the back here. Got some facial hair. I mean, they say the team takes on the personality of the coach, and you have talked about we're gritty, we're tough. You have some talent. You've got, Steve Rennell's going to play for the Cajuns. KD Mays has gotten offers. DK Mays is going to Houston. Your quarterback's going to Nichols. But it's not like you're bursting with 20 signees, right? I mean, you got talent, but this is a collective thing and a gritty thing that rose you to the top.
I think so, man. And I mean, that's just always who I've been, back to Coach Giat, he instilled that in all of us. And, I enjoy just doing it the hard way. And, we've used the line this year that we're hard men doing hard things. And, I think if you can live your life that way, I think that, you're going to have success, because it's not going to be easy, and you are going to come on hard times. And this rebuild has not been easy, and we have some nice buildings now, but people need to understand that we lifted in a circus tent for 7 months, in January when it was freezing cold, and in July when it was 100 degrees, and these kids lifted with rusty bars on their backs. They lifted on broken concrete and asphalt. They did hard things to get to where we're at, and man, it's something that nobody will ever be able to take away from them, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah. Well, I think Nick Saban, the first thing he did when he ccame to LSU, said our layout's all screwed up. Like, we work out way over here. We have to practice way over here. We need to organize. And, you need the Jimmies and the Joes, but it all trickles down from the NFL and the college game, right? Facilities, and, that's what attracts kids. I mean, somebody said, I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody told me that said Central has done a very good job of keeping the kids from Central in Central and them not going to private schools to play for private schools.
That's close the gates is what we started off with, and we just knew that if we were going to be able to do anything special here, it was going to be with keeping local talent inside of the city of Central. And to do that, you got to build a better product. You can't just, beg people to stay or hope that they stay. You got to build a better product. So, that starts with, number one, the people that you hire, what they're about, what they bring to the table. And then number two, with your facilities, being able to have the types of things that enable kids to become their personal best. And, there's a great picture, and you might have been, you put it up, from the first meeting that we had with the team, and it was Jackson Furman, who was a sophomore at the time. It was December of 2022. And I was shaking his hand, and he was a 165-pound little, twerp. And you look at him now, he's a 6'3", 210-pound animal, And so certainly growth and genetics have a lot to do with that. But to see him get in the weight room and put 25 pounds on last offseason, we're so proud of the developmental product that we're putting out there. And, people need to know that if their kids play for us and if they stay in the city of Central, that they're going to get developed and become their personal best.
Yeah, that popped up on my Facebook memories the other day, that it was your first – I don't know if it was your first day at Central, but it was the first time you met with the team.
Yeah.
It's only been 2 years ago, So look what you are. Look where you are now. That's the bad news. You won too quick. I'm halfway kidding with you there, but it's like Kim Mulkey. I won in my second year. This is too fast.
Yeah.
So you lose in the quarters. Like, well, all right, coach, we'll get them next year. Or the semifinals. We're disappointed now. Right. We didn't win state, but I know you like to raise those expectations. But I remember that first day you meet with the team. You had cowboy boots on, as you do today. Walking down those halls and implementing everything there. Your semifinal win over Neville, 17-13, might have delivered, I don't know if it's your most memorable play of the year, but to block the field goal, I think you told me Connor Scott and DK Mays were around the ball there, and then Marvin Joseph scoops it up and returns it 92 yards to win, to reach the state championship game on a special teams play. When you're practicing in August and you get into the special teams, it's like, oh, yeah.
Right.
This can be really important, right?
Sure. Well, I was a special teams coordinator for a lot of my career, and it's just been something that's always been a huge point of emphasis for us. And the kids get sick and tired of me talking about the winning edge and the special teams game and how hard we rep it. PAT block is something. PAT field goal block is something we do every day. So proud of those guys for getting in there, staying in the fight, and giving themselves an opportunity to win down the stretch. And the scoop and score was something that was magical, just like a lot of this season was. And I just remember looking back and saying, all right, are there any flags? And then everybody back up for God's sakes and make sure we don't run into any referees so we don't get any penalties here. But man, that was an awesome moment. So proud of those kids for pulling that out. And
your path was not easy. West Washita, West Monroe, Neville, Ruston, you got to earn it. That's the 318, the 3-1 great there, huh? Those programs that you had to get past.
A bunch of monsters, man, who all played us tough, and I was proud of the way that we were able to stay healthy throughout most of that run. I think that's a testament to Coach DeStasio, our head strength and conditioning coach. Great story about him. He was coaching Navy SEALs prior to coming to us in the Navy. Has worked with F-18, F-22 pilots, and been a head strength coach at the college level as well. So we got a guy that's got a wealth of knowledge there. But yeah, man, to be able to take all those guys down was just truly incredible and a testament to what these kids were all about.
You had that car accident right before the first game of the year, which was a really rough thing for you to deal with. But then there's also the aspect of, I remember covering the 2009 Saints that won the Super Bowl. They started 13-0, then they had some injuries, they lost some games. And it was like just strategically kind of getting everyone healthy at the right time. Jabari Greer, Tracy Porter, getting them all healthy for the playoffs. And I think you said in this state championship game was really the first time you had everybody for the most part, right? Healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, it was a good time for everybody to get healthy. Keith and Womack was the biggest one that we were missing the week before. But yeah, to get healthy right there in the last game was big time.
How many young men were involved in this car accident?
3.
There were 3.
So it was Jackson Furman, the quarterback, Kylan Thomas, the wide receiver, who caught a touchdown pass in the dome, and Emmanuel Williams. And Manny had the broken jaw, fractured collarbone, lacerated liver, collapsed lung, and broken pelvis. He was in ICU on a ventilator and all that different type stuff, and had a long road to hoe. His first game that he played was in the quarterfinals, and that was a magical night as well.
Wow. It's amazing how a teenager can handle that so much better than a 50-year-old could, huh?
Yeah, man.
Psychologically and everything. I knew it had to be tough, but
and I've told a lot of people, Manny Williams was a metaphor for our football team, just the resilience and the grit and the stick-to-itiveness, and the idea that, he didn't know if he was ever going to play again, but he stayed in the rehab, he stayed in the weight room, he started running, he started doing all these things, and all of a sudden we started seeing him move around, and he was a little ahead of the timeline, and I started sending some videos to our orthopedic surgeon, Jeremy Burnham, and he was like, man, I said, dude, he looks a little better than I expected, and so started digging a little bit more into it, and we were able to put him on a 15-play rep count for the quarterfinals, and when they called his name in the starting lineups, the whole place erupted. And then, he touched the ball, I think the second play of the game, and he caught a pass, and man, when his hands touched the football, that place went crazy. It sounded like the Superdome on Saturday.
Yeah. I hope there were no robberies in the town of Central because everyone was gone, right? I mean, the whole community was in the Superdome.
Our town's done an awesome job of traveling. I mean, you should have seen. We brought 8 or 9 buses to Neville. That whole side was packed. It was standing room only on the fences, and man, these guys have just done such an awesome job of supporting us. It's been crazy.
And I think it was the first time I've seen a coach's daughter give a soundbite in the post-game press conference. I tell you, Allie Jewell, cute as a button, 8 years old there, and well-behaved too. Sat still, listened, and then she spoke up, said she was proud of the team, what they accomplished and everything.
Yeah,
I think she may be the grand marshal of the parade, not you. We'll have to see.
I could see that. My son Bo is 7, and he rode the bus with us and got to ride the bus to Neville and got to come down on the field with me early before the game and everything on the dome floor. So she was a little bit jealous, but I told her, I said, hey, look, if we win, I'm gonna put you on my lap for all the press conferences. And she was like, okay, Daddy. So that'll be some great memories for us to share throughout the years.
Without a doubt. That's awesome. Just in time for Christmas too, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, this isn't a conversation for now, but eventually there's the whole, well, can you do it again? And you got to get your feet back on the ground. And guys that were on this team going into next year, you fat and happy? Do you have the desire? When you go back out there in July and it's 100 degrees and you're doing 7-on-7, you got to lift and get up and all that stuff in the morning. That'll be the challenge, right? Start at the bottom again and see if you can climb the mountain.
Yeah, man. But look, our identity is not tied to the outcomes of these things, man. And I think that, it's all about just trying to get the personal best out of, what you've been given. And, if we come up short next year, don't get the opportunity to play in the quarterfinal, semifinal, state championships, it's all about, do we maximize the potential of these kids? And, I think that we're gonna do our best to do that.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes, how stupid that is. Like Dale Weiner, he didn't win the big one until the end. Is it his fault that a teenager drops a pass or fumbles or something? That we're so simplistic in our view of coaches sometimes. If this guy's got a championship and this guy doesn't, right? I know that's the goal, but at the same time,
when you look at the impact that a Dale Weiner made over the decades in people's hearts and lives, and and the types of men that he created over the course of all those decades, you can't take away what a championship caliber guy he is. And then he got his due at the end.
Yeah, he did win one. I think I've said that, but I'll make sure.
Absolutely. He's the GOAT, man.
Yeah. Well, you should just retire now. Go out on top, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
How old are you?
40.
You're 40, right at it.
40 and holding.
40 and holding. I got you. Well, is anything else you want to add about the Central Wildcats and this championship year and just the happiness and everything you brought to that community?
Yeah. Well, man, look, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our coaching staff. Anthony Camp, our defensive coordinator, and that defense that we had this year was a history-making defense.
90 yards you gave up in the championship.
Just unbelievable. And, man, there's so many great kids on that defense, and Coach Camp just did such an awesome job of scheming that up. Coach Corey Lindsey, Coach Joey Gyro on that side of the football, Coach Chance Atkins. Then on the offensive side of the football, Coach Zach Morris has been our offensive coordinator. He was with me at Catholic. He's a Central alum. His senior year, they were 1-9. And for him to be a huge part of what we did this year as the offensive coordinator, and then the game he called in that game, those guys were so on because of his preparation, and then our administration, again, Jason Fountain and Brandon LeGroux have just done such an awesome job of setting us up to be successful. And man, we got a great thing going in the city of Central, and it's about the flesh and blood that's inside of those walls. And we're really excited about what we got going, and we appreciate being able to highlight it here on this show.
Well, no problem. I enjoyed the conversation a lot. Zach, I want to apologize to you real quick. I'm so stupid. I hear Zach Morris. I always make a Saved by the Bell joke or say timeout, and I should stop doing that, perhaps, but I just can't help myself. I just want to say you got another coach named A.C. Slater, and Screech is down at the end as the manager or something.
It's too easy. It's low hanging fruit.
And your boy Dakota, he's doing a good job at West Feliciana.
Awesome, yeah, he's doing an awesome job.
Yeah. That's
great things to come up there.
You got a coaching tree now, kind of.
I don't know about that.
Well, look, congratulations, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
great to be on.
Yeah, you're a great pillar of this community in coaching.
Thank
you. At only 40 years old, you've got quite the resume here, and we look forward to covering the Central Wildcats moving forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Thanks for stopping by Jacques Talk. I'm Jacques Doucet. Have yourself a great holiday.